Okay, we're live. Hello everybody. If anybody does end up watching the video, just going to pick up where we left off really. Last time, reset has been now, so just going to try and get some transmog sets finished. First one that we're going to jump into is Blackwing Lair. Try and get the braces from Razor Gore. Sadly, didn't get them last week, and that would mean that the first two sets in the collections tab would therefore be complete. So that's the first place that we are going to visit on the list today. I did notice as well, if I just open up the collections tab, I think it was the Earthen Battle Plate. I assumed that I had to go to Bastion of Twilight for this, but I've noticed that the braces do actually drop from Halphus. So what we'll do, we'll attempt BWL. Again, it's always braces. It's always braces that let my sets down. I was having a look through it last night, and yeah, I've noticed that it's braces that tend to be the thing that's letting a lot of my sets down. I'd probably have a lot more completed if I'd just bothered to get the braces, but as I mentioned before, because you don't really notice them, I don't really see a huge point. But that's one of the things that we are going to aim to do, because sadly, pre-patch didn't come out. I was hoping that it would have come out yesterday. It was only hoping, just purely because I wanted something else to do and something new to put on the stream, because since I've started streaming World of Warcraft, there hasn't been anything new, so a lot of the sort of content that I've been able to stream so far has just been stuff that, you know, has been out either for a long time or people have already seen, so it would have been nice to have had something new. Sadly, I did get an email last night which said that I'd been invited to the beta of Shadowlands, but then when I go into my Blizzard launcher, my Battle.net, the option isn't there, which I'm not quite sure why, so you'll probably notice I've got a ticket open down at the bottom here, just to try and sort of find out why I've received an email to say that I have got the option and beta access should be available now, but I can't access it, because if I can get beta access, I know it's, you know, pretty much upon us now, Shadowlands, but it's still like a month away, 27th of October on the 1st now, so if it's a case of I am able to get access to the beta, and then be able to sort of have a look at that and showcase some of the information. I know I said I was going to wait until the release. Let's have a look. So sadly, once again, we didn't get the braces from there, but that's fine. So yeah, so if it's a case of I can get access to the beta, that would be brilliant, because it's just something that I can then showcase to the stream, something that, you know, would be nice and new. But ultimately, that's down to Blizzard, whether or not they give me access to be able to view that. Okay, that's out of my control, sadly. So we'll head over now to Blackwing Descent. Let's have a look and see if we are able to get our hands on the braces to complete that set instead. You'll probably notice as well, in terms of transmog, there's been a couple of changes. So recently, in fact just last night actually, I managed to get my hands on Demise, the two-handed mace, which was very lucky because I'd sort of built this set, this sort of blue coloured set. Still needs some work doing, don't get me wrong. I'm happy with how the gloves look, in conjunction with Demise. I think they carry on that sort of blue effect around really nicely. I do like the shoulders. My only problem is that the majority of two-handed weapons tend to clip, which, you know, just sort of ruins the aesthetic a little bit for me, to be honest with you, something that I'm not best pleased about. So the shoulders will probably get changed, but I'm not 100% sure what for yet. In terms of the boots, I think they're probably the next thing that I'd really like to get different. If I can get them where they have the sort of highlighted tips, the same as the gloves do, I think that would really finish it off. Belt is also temporary. I don't mind the belt. The only problem that I have with it is this copper coloured sort of section on the back here when you don't have your weapons equipped. I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure why Blizzard sort of put that on there, because it's totally different from any other colours that are on the armour. Maybe it fits with the actual set that comes from, I'm not sure. I did try, because I was doing the world quests, to get the different look for the dragon axes, the hidden appearance for Fury Warriors, and I did actually achieve that, so I did manage to get it last night, but I've realised that in reality the colour, it's just such a different blue. So the highlighted tips look amazing, you know. Had it been that this was couple of shades darker and lined up with the Death Knight gloves there, the off-color Death Knight gloves, I think that would have been a great shout, especially, you know, having the sort of bone on here and then the bone on the shoulders. But ultimately, because the colour and the shade of blue is off, it just doesn't quite have the aesthetic that I was hoping for, which is why I then went to Naxxramas last night and very thankfully got Demise on my first kill. I've cleared Nax so many times and I was very confused, thinking, why have I not already got this? Like, surely I must already have this weapon, why have I not got it? Turns out that I've pretty much always cleared Nax on 25-man version, because I've been trying to get a hold of Armageddon. So when I didn't realise that the loot tables were different between Nax 10 and Nax 25, so it was a bit of a shock to me when I realised that there was actually different loot tables for them. So the first thing that we're going to do here... Actually, do you know what? I might have missed... It is Bastion of Twilight, isn't it, for these? Yeah. Ignore me. So it is Bastion of Twilight. So there definitely isn't anything from here that we need, I don't think. No, that's also Halphus. If that's available from vendor, though, is this also available from vendor? No. So we should be able to finish this off. Because if that drops from a vendor, then I don't think we're going to need anything in terms of... I don't think we'll need any tokens or anything. I think it'll just be purely gold. So in that case then, let's have a look. So sadly we didn't get that one. Battle Gear of Anchorage. We can go and kill the Twin Emperors again. That wasn't too bad. Fastest way there probably is just a hearth, to be honest. So yeah, sadly, the Braces of Wrath still avoid me. Countless times I've killed that boss. I don't know why I have so much difficulty, especially given that he drops like 2-3 pieces of loot every time you kill him. I don't know why they just manage to avoid me every time. Just cannot seem to get my hands on those braces. But it will come. I'm sure it will come. I mean, I don't really use the set of Wrath that much anymore anyway, but it would just be nice to have the set. So we'll go and see if Anchorage will be the saviour of this stream and will actually give us a piece of gear. Fingers crossed. It would be nice to at least box off one set on the stream, you know, every time we do one. I'm not really going to count the normal version of the Earthen Battle Plate because we'll just buy the braces. I'm trying to think where the vendor for that is. I'm fairly certain it's just in the middle of Orgrimmar, near the flight path. So I don't think that's going to be too hard to get. I am hopeful that we'll be able to get the drop. Yeah, get the drop from the Twin Emperors here. Get the belt. They drop quite a lot of loot. I think it's about 6 pieces in total, like 3 per Emperor. So the chances of getting the belt are very high. And then I'm fairly certain, yeah, that's the last thing that we would need for that set. So we'll give it a go. We'll see if it'll come. I did take the... I'm just trying to... I can't even remember the name now. There it is. Karaji Battle Tank. So we'll jump on this. Cause I could be wrong, but I think once you get a certain distance through the raid, it doesn't allow you to use normal mounts any longer. But I might be mistaken on that. So we'll get these guys killed. I'll take that. Anything new? One thing that you won't see, but I'll show you, is that my item level's gone up a little bit. I know it doesn't make a huge difference now. Pre-patches around the corner and Shadowlands, and obviously any gear that we get now pretty much becomes obsolete in Shadowlands anyway. It just means that you've got a little bit of a head start in terms of you're not getting hit hard by the new enemies when you first get there. But I figured in terms of while I'm doing transmog runs and things like that, it's better that I have the best gear I can, because when I went to, for example, Antorus and Tomb of Sargeras, they're still challenging raids. You know, it's still raids whereby if the group isn't doing enough DPS or doesn't do certain mechanics right, don't get me wrong, this isn't for every boss, but if you're not doing certain mechanics right, then you're not going to last very long. So I figured it's best for me to just get as much gear as I could. The Cataclysm Time Walking event was up with the reward of a piece of gear from normal Nyalotha. Now I was really disappointed because the piece of gear that I actually got was really good from the so it looks like you can just use a normal mount, so I'll get rid of that. So the piece of gear, obviously you complete 5 time walking dungeons and you get a piece of Nyalotha normal gear, which was like item level 445. So I thought I might as well do it because there's some weapons that can drop that I haven't got, and the appearances were quite nice, and I thought if anything it'll just be good to have them, like I say, to help out groups that I'm doing transmog runs with. So I did it, and I actually got the Drestagath trinket, which is a really good trinket. Like the damage on this thing is insane, the strength gain was really good, and I just thought, you know, if I'd had, like, if that was a piece of gear that I'd got early into this sort of like patch, how good that would have been, like doing, you know, helping out while you're doing corrupted visions and things like that. So I just thought it was a shame that I didn't get the item, you know, and wasn't playing early and got that little bit of luck there, but still it's a nice little thing to have in the meantime. It looks cool, and I imagine it'll help out, you know, when I first go into Shadowlands. It's still going to be quite powerful at the beginning of Shadowlands, so it's something, isn't it? It's a little bit of fun. But yeah, I was quite disappointed that I didn't get the weapon. Let me just have a look, because there was a weapon, like I say, that the reason I actually even did it in the first place was because of this Devastation's Hour. I think that looks really good, and the normal version with the pink, I think that looks pretty cool. So that was what I was hoping for anyway, which obviously I didn't get, but I was still happy. It was still something, it was definitely not what I was expecting, let's put it that way. So we're getting close. Once we've done this, I'm just trying to think. I'm really far off with the TitanSlyr set, like the Warbringer set. That one will take quite a lot. Destroyer is quite close, so I think we'll try and do Destroyer, purely because we can get both from the eye if we're lucky, and as always there's the chance for that Phoenix. Whether it'll drop, I don't know. I've never actually seen it drop, so it's not like I've even been in a raid and seen it and then not got it myself. I've literally never seen it drop. I think the rarest mount that I've ever seen drop was Invincible. I used to run ICC 25 very regularly to try and get Invincible, because I still think to this day Invincible is probably one of the better looking mounts available in World of Warcraft. So I used to run it every week. I would run it on my own, and then I think very, very rarely my brother would come with me. He'd be like, oh, I'll come along, try and get some transmog. And on one of the very rare occasions that I took my brother along with me, Invincible dropped, and I was like, so it's mine, yeah? And he was like, we're gonna roll for it. And I couldn't believe it at the time. I was like, seriously? I come here every week. You come one time, or one of very few times, it drops, and you really want to roll for it. We did roll for it, and I won. But in all fairness to my brother, funnily enough, we were actually just sort of discussing it not that long ago, a few days ago, and he was saying if he'd won it, he would have just given it to me anyway. So there wasn't any real threat that I wasn't going to get the item, but I didn't know that at the time. So at the time, I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely shitting myself thinking that I wasn't going to get this mount that I've been working so long to try and get. But it was fate, and thankfully, for once, the roll went in my favour, because I have shit luck when it comes to rolls. Really shit luck. So I'll take that just because why not, but once again, sadly, no belt. Have I got this one yet? No, that's a new pet, so that's something. Nothing that I'm too overly impressed with, but it's something. So that's 2 letdowns thus far. We'll make our way over to Shatrath now, and we'll get to the eye, we'll have a look and see if we can get a little bit of luck with the eye this time, fingers crossed. Now, so far, just for a little bit of a talking point as such, I've had a few views on my videos that I upload. So generally what I'll do is I'll stream. I don't have a set pattern to it at the moment. It's just obviously sort of as and when. But I'll generally just do a stream for about an hour, hour and a half, and then just upload that straight onto YouTube. And I've had a couple of people watch, not for very long, but you know, a couple of people who've been watching the videos, which is nice. In terms of it, like I say, I just want to do streaming because typically most of the time I'll play World of Warcraft on my own, and it is meant to be a social game, so it can get quite boring playing on your own. So I figured streaming was a good opportunity for me to chat, potentially, you know, sort of meet people who also play the game and want somebody to interact with while they're doing it. Even if you're not necessarily playing together, it's just a good opportunity to sort of discuss things about the game and what you enjoy, what you maybe don't enjoy, and things like that. But also just to sort of generally chit chat, you know, like one of the things that I'm excited about is we've just hit the 1st of October, and it's the month of Halloween, which is my favourite holiday of the year. I love Christmas, don't get me wrong, but Halloween, like, I love all things horror, so being able to go into, I say this, sadly, getting into shops isn't as easy as it once was, but, you know, going into shops and looking at all the Halloween decorations and the Halloween costumes, and I'm not really one for dressing up, don't get me wrong, but in terms of, you know, like, the house, me and my wife make sure that we really make it look good for Halloween. You know, we've got web everywhere, we've got skulls, we go out and buy munchkin pumpkins, which if you don't know are like these really small pumpkins. I'd never seen them before until a couple of years ago, but they're like really small pumpkins, and we get a couple of those. They take ages to go off, so we can generally get them on like the 5th, 6th of October and just like leave them as a decoration, and they last quite a long time. So we'll make the house look really good for Halloween, and then when Halloween rolls around, we'll tend to watch something horror related. So I don't think I've got the box set in my room right now, but we do have like a box set of classic horror films, so like the original Dracula, the original Frankenstein. No, it would appear that they're not in here at the moment. We are currently watching Harry Potter. All-time favourite films, guilty pleasure. I'm only joking, it's not a guilty pleasure. I have no guilt about enjoying Harry Potter whatsoever. They're fantastic. We're actually currently watching them at the moment, and like I say, we are on the last one now, so we're on Deathly Hallows Part 2, and we'll probably finish it tonight. We've watched it maybe about 17 times through, I would say, like a lot. We've watched them a lot, but we enjoy them, and you know, for me, I think one of the things that people need to do is just do the things you enjoy, which is why I'm still playing World of Warcraft, even though most of the people that I know have left the game and, you know, don't enjoy it anymore. I still do, so that's why I keep playing it. And like I say, that's the same with me for Harry Potter. I mean, I absolutely love those films. I love the books. We've been to the studio tour down in London to go and see where they filmed a lot of it, which, if anybody in the UK watches this and you're a fan of either one, Harry Potter, or two, if you're a fan of movies and how movies are made, then I would strongly recommend that you look into going to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, because if you're a fan of Harry Potter and not interested in how movies are made or anything like that, but you're a fan of Harry Potter, the props that are there, the fact that you're in what's classed as a hot set, so you know, technically they could use that for filming at any time, so it's as it would have been while they were using it. For any Harry Potter fan, that's like a totally different level of sort of being immersed into the Harry Potter world. If you're a fan of how movies are made, again, the props that you get to see, the animatronics that you get to see, the fact that you get to see how they do like the broom flying, and you can even have a go as well if you can be bothered to queue. If you're a fan of Harry Potter and how films are made, which is something that's applicable to me, then it's like this double whammy of just, I was blown away, I couldn't believe it. There was just times going round where me and my wife were just literally speechless. We do have plans to go again, but it's, as I mentioned before, I've recently become a father, so it's obviously a case of waiting till the little one is old enough to do that. But not only that, with COVID and everything that's happening at the moment, it's obviously difficult to travel. So it'll probably be a while before we do get the opportunity to go back, but I would strongly recommend it for a lot of people. And Harry Potter, I would strongly recommend Harry Potter for anybody who hasn't seen it. I know a lot of people sort of see it as this kids thing, but it's not. It's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, anything horror related, I absolutely love it. Not so much on the sort of like gore side of things. I can watch it, don't get me wrong. It doesn't really bother me too much, gore. The only things that really get to me is anything to do with eyes, teeth, or fingernails. They're the stuff that makes me sort of like tense up a little bit. Not a fan of that. But when it comes to, you know, people getting the head caved in or something like that, like, you know, has become almost commonplace in horror movies now. Doesn't really bother me that much. It's once you've got that sort of disjoint, you know it's fake. It's not really, doesn't bother you. I've been watching horror films from a very young age, so I think I've got quite a high tolerance for stuff like that. But yeah, nails, eyes, and teeth are still the things that just make me have that little knot in my gut and think, oh, I can't watch that. I cannot watch that. So that's why I love Halloween. And like I say, I do love Christmas time as well. But I think with Christmas time, there's just a lot more stress around it. You know, people wanting to spend money and trying to arrange going to visit family and things like that. Whereas with Halloween, the only other person in my family who's particularly bothered about Halloween is my sister. So there's no sort of like real pressure. I did go to a couple of years ago now. I went to like a horror experience where it's like a walkthrough. So you go through this area that they've, you know, got like paid actors and things like that to try and scare you. That was really good. I was very surprised actually because I didn't think it was going to be that great. It was the smells was probably the thing that really stood out to me the most, which might sound a bit weird, but the actors, for example, that have like chainsaws, they'll use proper chainsaws just without like a chain belt on, so you still get the actual sound effect, you get the smell of petrol burning, and that was really intensifies the sort of like feeling of dread that you get. The only thing that was quite funny was I'm quite a big guy, so I'm like 6'2", weigh about 17 stone, just under. I don't know what that is in terms of like American weights, if anybody's watching from overseas. So yes, I'm quite a big guy, and I noticed that some of the actors, when they were coming over, they tended to avoid me. So I was there with my sister, her friend, and then my stepsister was there as well. So it was like me and 3 women, and they tended to sort of stick with, you know, tormenting the girls and keeping away from me, which was fine. You know, didn't bother me at all. And then when I got to the end, and there was like a sort of photo booth, so they were in the photo booth, and I was talking with one of the guys who ran the place. And I said to him, you know, he asked, did you have a good time? I was like, yeah, it was brilliant, you know, something that I've never done before, it was fantastic. And I said, just out of curiosity, some of the guys seemed to sort of stay away from me. I was like, have you had any sort of problems in the past or anything like that? And he said, we haven't particularly had problems as such, but there have been occasions whereby people have, in fear, lashed out at some of the actors. So they haven't done it maliciously, you know, but ultimately they've just been scared and they've maybe like sort of thrown an arm out or something like that and caught somebody. So they said they tend to stay away from people who are a bit bigger and could potentially cause them any harm, which I thought was funny in one hand, but you know, it makes sense. You're there getting paid just to give people a scare. You don't want to get hurt. You know, the whole point of the situation is meant to be a safe environment for everybody, the actors and the people who are enjoying it. So that was interesting. But yeah, definitely, I would go again. I had the opportunity to go again the year after. The only reason I didn't is because I just didn't think that enough would have changed in that time, and it just seemed a shame to just sort of go year on year, and it would then lose that appeal of being, you know, sort of scary and different, because I'd never been to one before. So the first experience was like nothing I'd ever done, which was really, really good, really nice. So as such, we have had neither of the 2 drops that we needed. We did get, as you probably noticed there, the Felsteel Warhelm, which I didn't have before, but that's an off colour, so it doesn't actually come up in the collections tab, sadly. So out of the 2 here, we didn't get either of them, but we've always got the opportunity for the mount, so that's why I was sticking around, because technically we don't need to kill fast, but if we can get that mount, the Ashes of Alar, then I'll be very happy with that. So we'll get the slowest boss out of the way, because this is the only part, honestly, about the eye that stops me from doing it quite regularly. I am going to look to move my characters over to this realm, so I've got, or this zone, sorry, so I've got a lot of characters, and this mount is one that I would like to try and get my hands on, because it is, for me anyway, one of the best looking mounts in the game, and I think most people would probably agree with that. So I would like to get my hands on the mount. So what I'm going to do is, off stream at some point, I'm going to move all of the characters that are able to solo this boss over to this dungeon, and then we'll give that a go on one of the streams. We'll see if we can get the Ashes of Alar, if we don't get it now, of course, that is. One of the good things about Tempest Keep is that you can just come straight to kill fast, which is very handy in terms of farming the mount. So unlike things like Ulduar, I know you can buy a raid lockout, or you can just, you know, do a lockout yourself technically, although I don't know if they've potentially patched the ability to do that now. But I know you can get like a lockout, for example, so there is always the option to speed it up. But if you don't do that, and you don't sort of cheese it in a way using a lockout, you've got to clear every boss every time for that like 1% chance that you might get the mount. So thankfully Tempest Keep doesn't have that problem. The only thing that I would need to make sure I do, which I didn't do previously, because I have tried farming this mount once before and I was bringing my characters in every week. What I didn't do though was, on all of them I didn't run them back out of the dungeon, so I would come to kill fast, kill him, and then log out straight away. Now for some of the characters, when I log back in, they'd just be either at the beginning of the raid or they'd be outside. For other characters, they would be teleported back to where the Hearthstone was, so that wasn't ideal. And then at that point, once that had happened to a few characters, I just sort of gave up on it, and I was like, right, okay, I haven't had the mount in about 60 runs, 70 runs, which I know isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, but I just thought, right, I'll just leave it, because I can't be asked running everybody back over to the keep again. But like I say, for the sakes of a stream, and it would be quite hype to get, you know, the Ashes of Alar drop on recording, so for that sake I think I'll get that done. So there's the Trinket of Drestgath coming in very handy there, wiping out those 2. Sadly though, I have got the debuff on me. I think it probably would have been best if I took out Telonicus with that. But either way, let's get this done. Pray for the Ashes of Alar to drop, because if they do, then we never have to, well, we do still technically have to come here again. I remember I used to know somebody who thought that the Ashes of Alar dropped off Alar. Spent quite a few times coming to this raid, killing the first boss, and then leaving, and wasn't too pleased when I told him that it dropped off the last boss. Why you wouldn't check it, I have no idea. I mean, it's one of the first things that I do. If there's a mount that I want to try and get, I'll check where it actually comes from. So why he didn't do that, honestly, I have no idea. But and for anybody who is watching and is wondering, my toolbars, I know they're a mess, but again, there's just no point in sorting anything out in terms of toolbars until Shadowlands or pre-patch comes out, and then I'm going to have to download add-ons again, because I haven't got any of my add-ons active really, apart from Bagnon, and I don't see a point, because they're all going to need updating. I didn't technically click that, but okay. Sadly, as we can see, there is no Phoenix in there. Everything else can be sold, I think. Yeah, this sword is such a disappointment. The fact that the blades are intertwined looks really nice, but then when you look at how thin it is, it's like paper thin. Not too bad for the actual sword, you know, like the actual blade itself. Having a paper thin blade, that could be quite handy. Cuts through things really easy, unless there's armor there. But when the hilt is paper thin, like, the hilt's so thin it goes invisible at times. I mean, that's just, come on Blizzard, that's just lazy. No one's going to want to use that. But anyway, sadly, it looks like this transmog run is most likely going to go the way of the last one. You'll probably notice that I did update my heroic leap to have the speed increase afterwards, just to try and make transmog runs a little bit quicker. So we didn't get the destroyer armor. I could do Serpent Shrine Cavern. I don't know if there's anything else technically there that's worth going for. Let's have a look. One. So if we go on here, right, let's have a look. Change that to all, although as we've seen previously, it probably doesn't make any difference. World Breaker, it's not bad, but again, I'm fairly certain the PvP one looks exactly the same as that, so I'm not too bothered about getting that. Mount of the Tides is disgusting. Paladin off colour, could be okay to get, I suppose. Sorry, I keep rubbing my eye for some reason. I just feel like I've got something in it that just will not leave me alone. So I could go for the Paladin recolor. War boots and braces. I don't know. It's not the most exciting of raids. It's a ball ache to get to. I mean, I know none of these raids are particularly exciting, and I probably will stream another attempt of Siege of Orgrimmar again to try and get the shoulders that I'm so desperately after, the tusks of Manaroth. What I'll do is I'll head as if I'm going to go to Serpent Shrine Cavern. I'm going to have a look on here in the meantime, just to see if there's anything else that we are close to that could be better. So there's always finishing off the Onslaught set. High Lord, Wardrod, and Agendas. So he's the first boss, if I remember rightly. So that's easy. Reliquary of Souls, Shade of Akama. So there's 2 chances for the boots, 1 for the braces. So we could potentially go and do that. What else would there be? Sunwell, so that's brace, that's vendor, sorry. There's quite a few of those which are vendor, but I'm wondering, is it gold only vendor? What is that? I don't know what this is. Like a chest of some sort, but I can only assume it must just be for a quest because I can't interact with it. That set is quite nice. One thing that I do like to do is mix these shoulders with the ICC DK set because it goes. Same with the helm as well. I haven't got the helm. I don't recall seeing that with a vendor. So it might be worth us jumping over, because if that set can be completed vendor, 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 then that might be worth doing just for the sake of completion. Heroes set, 25 player Nax. So that's braces missing, braces and belt. Should we do a Nax run? I mean, Nax is decent. Ulduar I'm miles off. And one of the reasons that I've never collected Ulduar sets is because they have no boots. So you have to try and sort of like mix and match, which isn't the best. Hellscream Battle's Gear just looks terrible. really wasn't impressed with that set at the time it came out, and I'm still not impressed with it now. I think it's one of the laziest sets that Blizzard have ever released, to be honest. Right, I'm thinking then that we maybe do a Nax run, because a Nax run doesn't take very long, except for the boss with the ghosts. Right, we'll go to Shatrath. I know I'm just jumping all over the place here. We'll go to Shatrath. We'll port over to Isle of Quel'Danas, because I get the feeling that if there's going to be a vendor anywhere that sells these, it's going to be on the Isle of Quel'Danas. I hope. I don't really see where else it would be. I'm just hoping that when it says vendor, it's not a token that you need. So I'm really hoping Blizzard can come through with this beta access, just so that I've got something different to stream, to be honest with you, because I am enjoying streaming, and like I say, even though up to now no one really seems to be watching it, which is fine, I haven't got a problem with that. It's just a nice outlet for me to be able to talk and, you know, sort of discuss things while I'm playing, even if it might be a bit weird that I'm discussing it with myself. In essence, it's kind of like I'm discussing it with somebody else. And hopefully, like I say, eventually some other people will join in, even if it's just one or two, just for something a bit different. So I'm going to stick with it, because, you know, ultimately, if I stop now, then I'm never going to find anybody else, you know, who's interested in watching the stream or chatting whilst playing or anything like that. And this is only, what, the 4th stream that I've done now, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And if nobody ends up watching it, that's not a problem. You know, I don't expect anybody to watch it, so it's not like I'm going to feel let down or anything like that if nobody does. Even if I've got one person to sort of watch, that would be nice. And I can't believe Blizzard still haven't fixed that portal from saying that you are mounted. You can mount up in Isle of Quel'Danas, so I don't know why it has such a problem with me being mounted, but hey ho. So in terms of the vendor, if I remember rightly, he's behind here. Let's have a look. So that's new. Oh, hang on. So is that the belt for the set? For the destroyer armor? I already had it, but then it's saying I don't have it. Or is it just that piece of gear that I don't have? I'm not sure. Either way, so I'll buy that just because it's new. Are all of these new? Pretty much. Okay, so just having another one of these moments where we just buy pretty much everything. They're one hand, so you only need one of those, which is fine. That's something a bit different. That's okay. In terms of the vendor that sells the Sunwell stuff, I'm really not sure where that is. I wonder if there's a vendor outside. I know that's something that they did in Firelands. They had vendors outside that you could buy gear from. Let's have a look. It's been so long since I've been here properly. Right, so it's not there. I'll try over here. Feeling that I get the horrible feeling that it might just still be somebody who is in Shatrath. Right, let's trade supplies. Do you have to go up here? Any of these guys vendors? No. Let's teleport up. Let's have a look. Honestly, not a clue where this person supposedly is. Okay, there's definitely nobody up here, but I know that this is where the vendor was for the Shattered Sun offensive, so I wonder if it's in here.
Everything has a price.
Legion 4, haven't got that. Take that. I definitely have had this at some point, both of these, but again, we'll buy them for the sake of having the appearance. We'll buy that. That, I remember purchasing that originally. That was one of the main things I was trying to do, was to get that necklace back in the day. Right, so we've got some new transmog bits, but still haven't found that vendor. But in terms of transmog, it's been a pretty decent day. You know, we've oh, hang on. Could this be the vendor that we're looking for? Keeper of Lost Artifacts. This looks like it could be it. What do you sell? Are these? No, they are just the normal colour ones. Okay, so you do need, and then this vendor's completely pointless because ultimately you just create them anywhere now. So it would mean going into Sunwell. Sunwell is quick, so I'll tell you what, let's do Sunwell while we're here. If it was a case of the if it was a case of this wasn't like a proper set and was just like a recolor and wouldn't appear in the collections tab, I wouldn't bother. But we're at Sunwell, we're here. I'll do it. We'll make it the last run of the stream for now. But I mean, ultimately, in terms of transmog wise, I know it's not great looking gear, but we've got quite a lot of stuff, which is nice. And yeah, I know a lot of it's been vendor, but you take what you can get. All right, you take what you can get. If you've got shit luck, like I do, then you just take it. Don't mourn. Now, in terms of doing Antorus and Tomb of Sargeras, that's something that I'm pretty much always going to do off stream, unless there's sort of people that watch the stream and we get to the point where there's enough people who want to do it with me. Then I'll do it with people on stream. But for now, because I've got to go into Group Finder and it's sort of reliant on other people in terms of the time taken, I can't just do what I want to do. I'll just do it off stream for the time being. Hopefully, if people can pray, I don't believe in prayer, but if anyone wants to pray for me, that I can get some good stuff. You know, I was very lucky in terms of getting the gloves last week. I would very much like to get some more of that set. If I go on to, I think boots, honestly, boots is like one of the real big things that I would like to get, because that would sort of really add to the set. Which ones is it? So it's the Doomwalker ones. That would really make the set look a lot better if I could get my hands on those.
Will I be a slave to Malagos? Challenge me and you will be destroyed.
Don't think the shoulders. See, the shoulders for this set, I'm a bit confused, because if it is the ones that I think it is, which is these ones, they don't really seem to go in terms of the colour. I know this piece of plating is too dark compared to this light grey here, and then this bit is too light, so it doesn't really seem to go. As cool as they look, don't get me wrong, I mean, these are some very good looking shoulders, and if I got them, there's nothing stopping me from wearing those. Like, they are just out of this world. But another thing that I'm going to start farming for as well is the World Defilers set, because I think that's probably one of the best looking sets in the game, and I'd only just recently come across it. I didn't even know it was a thing previously, because I'd never really looked into it. So to get the World Defilers set, that would also be really nice. So there's quite a few things in terms of transmog that I am going to be looking to work towards, which, considering pre-patch isn't out yet, Shadowlands is a month away, and unless this ticket's successful, I'm still not going to have access to beta. It's definitely, you know, enough to keep me busy in the meantime, just while I'm waiting for that to become an option and start enjoying some new WoW content with the stream as well, because that's one thing that I am really looking forward to, is exploring Shadowlands and, you know, doing something new that's new for me, but also potentially new for people who maybe don't play World of Warcraft anymore, because I know that even while I'm not playing WoW myself, I'll still watch people who play WoW. Admittedly, a lot of what I watch is Asmongold, and I know he doesn't really play the game as much as he used to. He more sort of commentates on things that are happening around the game. But again, I think that's just because there's not really any content for him to do on the game at the moment. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people are just sort of taking a back burner and playing other things. You know, stuff like Fall Guys became popular for a while. I mean, it's still popular, don't get me wrong, but it sort of took the world by storm. Now it seems to be Among Us, which is the one that's very popular amongst streamers. So I think a lot of people have sort of jumped the WoW ship temporarily whilst they play those other games, just as something to break it up, really. I don't know if I looted the last boss, but it should hopefully just come to me in the post anywhere. So we'll make very quick work of Brutalis. Did he drop anything? Just 2 belts? No. I'll take the Sunmote just in case, because obviously you can use that to change the appearance, looking at that boat, or at least potentially buy something else. I can't remember what I have to do here to get the next phase to activate. I think it's just a timing thing. I think I just need to wait. Which is one of the reasons why I don't like doing Sunwell, is because of the waiting around. Should be a dragon somewhere. I can't. Is it this dragon? I can't remember. I don't know if this dragon comes back to life or if another one just flies in. So yeah, this is the downside to doing like some old transmog runs, is when you've got like sections like this of just pure downtime and there's just nothing you can do with them. I generally just use that time to look at transmog items that I'm hoping to get. Here we go. I tell you what, this model here is one that I really wish they would have put in the game as a flying mount, because as much as I like the Frostbrood Blood-Bathed Vanquisher and the 10 and 25 man versions from ICC raids, I just think that this version here is so much better. And even if they'd made it a mount that I didn't have or couldn't get, I think it would just be nice to see people riding around on it. Like, I think compared to, because it was the black and plagued proto drakes that you could get from Naxxramas for. Now I didn't do this, so I could be wrong, but I believe it was for clearing it without anybody dying. And if you did it on 10 man, you got the plagued one, and 25 man, you got the black. But I could be the other way around. I could be wrong. I personally feel like that mount there should have been available if you managed to complete ICC 25 man heroic without anybody dying. Now I know that would possibly be totally impossible to do, but again, it just adds that level of, well, if it's next to impossible to do, then the people who do manage to do it get justly rewarded with something that, you know, people look at them and think, you're very good at the game, you know, you've achieved something that pretty much everybody else has got no hope of achieving. And I think Blizzard, in a lot of cases now, are just a bit afraid of doing that, which is not, you know, isn't news to anybody. They've sort of shied away from providing rewards to players for doing harder difficulty for some time now, I think. The only aspect of the game that doesn't really have that is PvP, because ultimately PvP in and of itself lends to the fact that, you know, you have to have a rating system, otherwise people haven't got anything to work towards. So we've just got the belt, Servant's Bell, may as well take that even though I've already got it a number of times. So yeah, PvP, you have to have that sort of process in place whereby there is ultimately, you know, a natural progression. So if you didn't give a just reward for people getting higher in that and staying high, then I just don't think people would bother. With mythics, I think it's more the armor aesthetic that, you know, would for me personally push me. I know a lot of people it's just more so because they want to have the strongest gear and they want to have the best, you know, times and things like that in terms of Mythic Plus as well. But I just think in terms of, you know, sort of particularly unique rewards, mounts are going to be one of the things that is always a huge driving force for a lot of players. You know, if you've got a good mount as a reward, for me, I think you'll see a much bigger percentage and population of people pushing to try and aim for higher things. And I think that's one thing that they should try and do, is to push people to try and aim higher. Because right now, a lot of people just get the same rewards, it might just take them a little bit longer. So when there isn't that, like, you know, threat of, well, I'm not going to get this unless I put the effort in, then it does just lead people to be lazy, I guess, in a way. You could kind of say lazy is maybe not the right word, but it just doesn't give them that fire underneath them and that drive and desire to push for that next level that they could probably do. I know for a fact that myself, I've generally stuck around normal level raiding, have never really moved into the realms of going into heroic, but ultimately there's nothing to say that I couldn't do heroic raids. You know, I know how to do tactics, and without sounding like I'm being big-headed, there's a lot of times where I'm in groups, whether it be dungeons or raids, and I can see other people not doing the tactics that I'm doing, so it's not like I can't do it. So yeah, I definitely think it would be good for them to put more, as opposed to just like, you know, a title and an armor set. It would be nice to just see them put that little bit extra in terms of like a totally unique reward, like they used to do with the thing of Don't Die, because everyone can get the sword that the mod that I've got. In terms of the Glacial Tidestorm, ultimately, as I said, I paid for mine because I don't have a way of being able to get it any other way. But I had the gold, so I might as well just buy it because I don't want to miss out. But anyone can do that. So I think they definitely should have had something in. So for example, without anybody dying, would be a much better option to do it as. But I don't know, it must be hard for Blizzard because there's so many people that, you know, hate on the game nowadays, and I understand they've done things to, you know, sort of receive backlash. So it must be difficult for them to try and implement things without, you know, pissing off so many different groups, because there's so many different groups of players on the game now. It's hard to try and find that balance. But for me personally, as somebody who's a bit more casual of a player, I don't have a problem in knowing that there's going to be items in the game that I will most likely not get because I don't have the time to invest in the game, and you know, I don't have a guild that's, I mean, I have got a guild now, ready for Shadowlands, and they seem pretty good, but previously I've never really had a guild and sort of looked into it that much. Although I probably have the skills to do it, that's just, that falls on me then. So ultimately, if I don't get the reward, I have no one else to blame but myself. Now, that was a pretty decent run of Sunwell. So we got the Helm of, what was it, Burning Righteousness? Yeah, so it's the Paladin, or the lighted coloured version, which isn't what I was hoping for. I was wanting the grey one, the red one, because this isn't part of the collection, so ultimately it's not going to appear. But it's still decent, and we got Apollyon, so I'll take it. You know, two new pieces from Kil'jaeden there. We got the new pieces that we bought from the vendors. So all in all, I'd say it was a decent little run, decent stream. Thank you again if anybody has watched, and like I say, the video or this stream will be going up as a video on the channel as well. So if anybody does want to watch that, then by all means, please feel free to watch it. Leave a comment with any feedback that you might have for the stream, if there's anything that you'd like me to, you know, to see me do. Again, I'm limited in terms of what we can do. There's nothing new to do right now, So, you know, if there's anything that you want to watch me do in the meantime whilst we're waiting, whether it be leveling a new character, if I get beta access, we'll do that. But ultimately, you know, if anybody's watched the stream, first and foremost, thank you. You know, I enjoy making these videos and doing these streams, and if I could share that with somebody or some people, that would be fantastic. So if anybody's watched this, again, I know I keep saying it, but thank you. Leave a comment with any feedback that you might have, and hopefully I'll see you next time.